Hello, all those striving for BPSA's Professional Development Certificate. In the previous video, we had a look at what BPSA PDC scheme involves and how to collect Professional Development Points or PDPs. This video will focus more on how to record your PDC entry online using the system provided by COAX, which is very much similar to the one used by General Pharmaceutical Council. This video is based on the PDC user guide that can be found under the PDC scheme section of the BPSA website. You can use this guide as an alternative source of information to help you record your PDC entry online. Although you can record your online entries at any time during one academic year, this video assumes that you've already taken part in 5 BPSA or Royal Pharmaceutical Society activities, and now you're ready to finalize your portfolio and submit it to the Educational Development Officer. To start with, go to the PDC scheme section of the BPSA website. Then, email the BPSA Educational Development Officer with the following details: your BPSA RPS membership number, your initials, your full name, and the university email address. Make sure that it's the university email address to include and not your personal one, which will not be accepted. It is essential that you request your username and password as early in the year as possible. This is because we receive a high volume of applications, and the Educational Development Officer might take a few weeks to reply, particularly towards the end of the year and just before the deadline. Once the Educational Development Officer gets back to you with your username and password, your journey of completing the online PDC portfolio begins. You can save these username and password, like I have done in this case, and then use them to access your PDC system online. The first step is completing the 5 relevant PDP forms, which are available in Microsoft Word document format. They are just here on the BPSA website below the PDC user guide. I suggest that you save each of these forms onto your computer before attempting to complete them. For example, you might have taken part in the Western Area Conference, in which case you would use this form and save it onto the folder that you could call PDC 2012. This is an outline of the PDP form, in this case to account for the BPSA Northern Area Conference on Critical Care Services in Pharmacy. Each of the PDP forms is divided into action and evaluation and contains a number of sections that need to be completed as part of the PDP form. There is no set length or word count for your answers, and any answer is sufficient as long as it explains how that activity was beneficial for your professional development. The action part of the form consists of the name of the activity, the explanation of the activity, and the date. Thereafter, you have 3 specific questions, each of which have to be answered as part of the form. Make sure that you don't just talk about anything you've learned as part of that activity, but rather answer the questions indicated. The evaluation section of the form consists of 2 main questions. The first question asks you to describe how the information that you've learned or the skills and knowledge that you've gained as part of the activity could be beneficial to your development as a student, or could have been used at the university or in your workplace. The second question asks you to explain how the activity that you've taken part in has already benefited your development as a pharmacy student, and has it or has it not highlighted any weaknesses of yours. Make sure that in both cases you answer questions that are in the text box, and not the questions that are the headings of the box. The last part of the evaluation section is the yes or no question, asking you to specify whether or not this activity has identified any further learning needs of yours, whether you need to undertake another activity or another continuing professional development cycle to meet those new learning needs. Once you have completed one or more of your PDP forms in a similar way in a Microsoft Word document format, you are ready to proceed to the next stage, which is completing your entries online. In order to access the online recording system, go to the BPSA website, the PDC section of the website, and click this link here. Alternatively, you can log in via the College of Pharmacy website by clicking this link here. This website also provides some technical help. some technical FAQs on login problems, problems with viewing CPD online, and using the software. And by this stage, you should have already received an email from the EDO containing your username and password to access your online PDC recording system. In this case, my BPSA number is BPSA demo. In your case, it would be a 7-digit number starting with 9. Your username would be an email address, normally a university email address. And the password is Blue Cow in this case. Click Record your CPD here. Once you log into the system, you can create a new folder for your PDC entries and call it PDC 2012 as an example. And once this folder is created, you will be ready to record your individual entries for each of the 5 activities you've taken part in that academic year. In order to do that, you need to click New on the entries and give a specific name for each of your activities. So let's, for example, start with the Northern Area Conference. Let's call it Critical Care, as per the PDP form that we completed not too long ago. But which step of the CPD cycle do you start at? Well, we recommend that for the BPSA and the Royal Pharmaceutical Society activities, you start at action as opposed to reflection or any other steps of the CPD cycle. The reason for that is the fact that you learn by doing, as an example, taking part in BPSA competitions or attending BPSA conferences. The next step is fairly straightforward. All you need to do is copy-paste your answers from the already completed Microsoft Word document PDP form onto the online entry. Simply go back to the relevant PDP form, in this case the Northern Area Conference form, select the relevant answer and copy-paste it into the relevant section on the online entry. The next step is choosing the date of the activity. In this case, that was in 2010. It was the 30th of October. Next, copy-paste the answers to the 3 specific questions you were asked on the PDP form. You are now ready to proceed to the evaluation step of the CPD cycle. Click the Evaluation tab here, then copy-paste your answers to the following 2 questions from the already completed PDP form. Finally, choose the answer to the question of what you intend to do next. It could either be nothing, because you've learned enough during the conference, or alternatively, you could start a new CPD cycle on something that you wish to learn. In this case, we've chosen nothing because you might have learned enough during the conference and answered these questions there. Then, mark your entry as completed, and that is very important because otherwise I might not be able to mark it. Note the Save tab here, which means that you can save your entry at any point in time whilst you're completing it online. Once you completed one entry, the same has to be repeated for the other 4 entries. And once you have all 5 entries ready, you then have to go to the Properties tab and enable the BPSA to view your profile. And that is done by clicking this box here and then adding the details of the BPSA as the viewer. The name of the viewer has to be BPSA, the username has to be BPSA PDC, and the password is again BPSA. And then you should allow the BPSA to always view your profile. That will make sure that whenever Educational Development Officer wants to review your profile, they are able to do so. Click OK. The very last step here, which is crucial in making sure the BPSA can view your profile, involves clicking this box. And once that is done, you're ready to proceed to yet another step of completing the final reflection form. The final reflection form can be found under the PDC section of the BPSA website, as all of the other documents related to the PDC scheme, just below the PDP forms. You may wish to save this form on your computer by clicking here. However, I already have this form saved and completed, so I will just open it up here. The final reflection form serves two purposes. First of all, it enables you to provide us with a summarized reflection of all activities you took part in that academic year. It also enables you to provide us with some feedback about the activities that you thought might have been the least beneficial or the most beneficial for your professional development. The first section of the final reflection form is a list of all the activities that you took part in the academic year. That is followed by this section here, where you can provide the BPSA with some constructive feedback about the activity you thought might have been the least beneficial for your professional development. The third section is the opposite, is where you provide the BPSA with some positive feedback about the activities that might have been the most beneficial for your professional development, something that might have been up to the standard, or better. Next, you'll be asked to explain how all the activities within the PDC scheme that you took part in developed you both as a pharmacy student and might have contributed to your development as a future healthcare professional. This section is particularly important, and that's what the Educational Development Officer pays a lot of attention at when marking your profile. This part of the final reflection form asks you to identify the 3 key areas that you would like to improve over the next academic year. For example, that might involve over-the-counter treatments or responding to symptoms. The next section will ask you to explain how you're going to meet the learning needs identified above. For instance, you might wish to read the Responding to Symptoms textbook. Lastly, the form asks you to identify some other CPD activities that you might have undertaken, not as part of the PDC scheme, but elsewhere, either at the university or in your workplace as an example. The very last step in the completion of the final reflection form is to include your personal details: your name, your BPSA or RPS membership number, your school of pharmacy, the address for certificate to be sent to, and finally, your email address that we can contact you on. Once you've completed the final reflection form, you then need to send a notification email to the BPSA Educational Development Officer. That email must include your personal details and also an attachment of the final reflection form. The details that you need to include are here in the PDC user guide on the BPSA website under the PDC section of the website. If you scroll down the PDF file and go to step 7, we then find out more about the details that you need to include in the email. These are your name, your BPSA or RPS number, your school of pharmacy, the address the PDC certificate should be sent to, and also the statement, "My PDC scheme portfolio is now available for review online." Also, don't forget to attach the final reflection form to the email. All these details and your final reflection form need to be sent to education@bpsa.co.uk. The Educational Development Officer will then review a profile against the Royal Pharmaceutical Society's professional accreditation criteria and will notify you by email as to whether or not you've been successful that year in obtaining your professional development certificate. If you're not successful at that point in time, the Educational Development Officer will include some feedback and some recommendations in the email as to how to improve your PDC entry. You can then resubmit your entry for another review and still obtain PDC at the end of the year. And that's about all you need to know in order to record a successful PDC entry online. If you have any further questions or concerns, don't hesitate to contact the Educational Development Officer on education@bpsa.co.uk. Good luck to all of you,